In this video, I'm going to show you how to recreate a header menu section similar to this one here, and also this hero section. This is a website that a lovely student of mine, Angela, sent me, and she really wanted to recreate these two sections here in Divi, and I love a Divi Design challenge, so that's what I'm going to show today. So this is the original website. This is what I've recreated in Divi. Obviously the fonts and you know, some of the colors and stuff aren't exactly the same, and for some reason this is triggering a little bit funny right now, but I'll just refresh that and it should start displaying correctly. And I'll show you exactly how to achieve this look in Divi. There we go. So it's fading the right way now. I don't know what was going on there. So here we go. I've got the Divi builder activated here, and I've got all these sections, and what I'm going to do is just recreate these all for you so I can show you exactly how I've done it. So firstly, this first top row here for the header, we'll start with this. This is just one section with a row that's a 2-column row, and I've laid it out this way. So we have the main menu in this side and then the button in that side there. Then we also have another section down here that's a 2-column row, which I will show you. It's laid out just sort of a 50-50 split here, 2 half columns, and then we've got a text module here, and we've got a slider module here. And this down here is just so I could show how this was pushing out the negative margin. I haven't really formatted this section or anything here just yet. So let's go about recreating this header menu, and I'll just pop it directly underneath. That might be easier. So we'll just add a regular section. And then we're going to add that column structure that I had before. And then in this first column, we're going to add a menu. Okay, and so I'm going to select, I created a new menu here just saying test menu, so it had the same items that this one did, so we could sort of line them all up correctly. With the logo, I'll just add an image. Elements, I'll make sure that these are switched off because I don't want any of those, and I'll just make sure the background is actually clear as well. And that's all I need to do there. Clearly it looks beautiful so far, doesn't it? I'll just close out of that, and let's just add a background color to the section. So I might just go copy this color. I'm not sure what this one is. Background, I'll just paste that in, but now it'll be under my recent colors, so I'll save that. Okay, so let's now style this a little bit nicer. So layout, we want to have an inline centered logo. Menu text, we want that to be black. The font that was used on the other side is Carla. I didn't get that. I wasn't able to get all of the exact fonts because some of them used on the other website are custom fonts, but some of them are Google fonts, which is great. So I'll just style all this, make it look similar to what's on the other website. That all looks pretty good. So now let's change the size of this logo so we can get it looking similar. That'll be under sizing actually. Logo max width, let's make it say 200 pixels. There we go. So that's looking sort of similar now. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Now I might also make the menu max width about 100 pixels, and we'll center it. I think I want this to be actually 1,000. There we go. Pops across. And that's pretty good there. So now we'll just add the button in this other column here. Sometimes, because I've changed the width, it's a little bit hard to select on, so I'm just going to go to this wireframe view and add it in here and go button. And now we can pop back and view it on the front end. So book our call link, I'll just leave it at this for now. And then let's style our button. So I might center the button, the text, where are we? Use custom styles. And so the button text, I think we probably had similar to the menu, which was about 12 button text color, background color, border width 0, radius, we'll move that right down. Letter spacing's probably up 1. We'll remove the icon, and then here we go. So we'll make the button, the padding around the button bigger like this one here. So let's maybe add 10 top and bottom and maybe 20 side to side. And that's looking pretty good. So I might just make the text size a little bit bigger. And on hover as well, I might get the text to change to black, because I'm pretty sure that's what this one does here. Yeah, it just changes to black. So I haven't got the gold exactly, but obviously you can find out what that color is and change that. Okay, so that's all looking pretty good, except you'll notice how the buttons are lining to the top of that row, and rather than sort of being aligned with the text like this one is here. So a little trick that I tend to use all the time is just a little bit of custom CSS. And so there's 2 steps to this. First thing is we just go to the row settings, design, and sizing, and we click Equalize Column Heights. And then under the Advanced tab, under Custom CSS and Main Element, we'll type in this little line of code, which is align items center. And you'll see how that's popped down. So if I just cut that out, if you watch this here, you'll see how it's popped to the top and then paste it in, it's moved down. So that's looking nice and neat. So now I'll just adjust the padding on the row and the section to make it sort of similar. Can be a little bit tricky to find here. There we go. And so we've pretty much got it looking the same as up here. I've maybe need to add a little bit more padding to that button and stuff, but it's roughly what it needs to be. I haven't gone through and made it all responsive yet, but you can obviously go through and tweak all that. So next we'll make this section here. Now this is a little bit trickier, but we'll get there, so bear with me. So first things first, I'll add a new section underneath, regular section, and then split it the half-half split. Now, first thing in this row, in this first column, I want to have a text module. So let's just pop that in for now. And maybe let's go about setting up the sizing of this row, because maybe if I put in, this one's actually a slider, so I'll put in a slider here. Let's just save that. And so this is what it's looking like now. It's really, you can see how it's, looking pretty plain and not much like this row up here. So let's fix that. So firstly, you'll notice how this row is actually spanning the whole width of the page, and that means that's allowing this slider here, these images, to actually hit the side of the page here. So I'll do that first. So let's make this row full width by going to width, and we'll just make this 100% there. What we might also do is do a custom gutter width, and we'll make this 0 so that it's sort of right butting up against each other there. And I think I also want to toggle on this Equalize Column Heights as well. So there's that. Next, we want to make sure that this text here isn't hitting the sides of the page like it is here. So let's make this an actual max width, the section a max width. So I'll go to sizing, max width, and I think I'd set it to about 300 or something. And I'll center that as well. So that's looking about right. We can play around with that a little bit more later as well. And then I want to make sure that it doesn't hit the top and bottom ever. So I'm just going to go to spacing here, and I'm going to add a margin top and bottom of say 10%. And that sort of will align it down, up and down. So that's good there. So I'll just close out of that for now. And now let's add in the slider over here. So we've got this slider, clearly not looking anything like the slider at the top there. So I'll just go into settings. Firstly, I'll just make sure there's no background on it. Okay, that's fine. I'll move this over here so we can see. Okay, so each of these here under the slider, these are each of the slides. So at the moment there's 2 slides that you can sort of toggle through between. They look identical, so that's why it's not looking any different there. But let me just close that one. So we just have one, and we'll go in here and we'll just edit this. So let's take out all the text, the button, all the text here. We don't want to have an image here. It's important to actually put the image in the background so it takes up the full width of that module. That's one mistake I made when I was fiddling around with this. So let's just take out that pink background and put in the image as the actual background. And I've uploaded the images here already. We want it to cover the full width of that. So that's looking pretty good. So that might be all I need to do there for now, and let's now just duplicate this slide and swap out that image, the background image, so we have the other image there. Okay, and then when we go back to here, so we have the two slides here, we actually want to edit the slider, the whole thing, not just the slide, the individual slides. So let's edit the slider by just I just click the back button rather than, so if you're in here editing the actual slide, if we go back, we're editing the slider. We'll go to elements and we're going to toggle off the arrows and the controls so they're not displaying. And then we'll go to design. So what I want to do here in particular is I want to make sure that this image, rather than being that small, it's going to be sort of a minimum height of about, I think I've set that to 500 pixels. So in order to do that, it might be under image, but it might also be under sizing. So let's see. Yes, it must be under sizing. So where are we? Min height. So minimum height, let's set that to 500 pixels. And there we go. I think that's the same. So that's looking pretty good there. Then we just have to play around with the animation to make sure that they're sliding through when we want them to. So under animation, we'll go automatic. We'll set it to fade. And we might want it to, where are we here? Every about, let's say 5 seconds. So 500 milliseconds. And I think that should be about it. Let's just double check because I'm not 100% sure how I set this one up here. So let's go to animation on this and see. So I've set it to fade, 1000 there, ease in out once on 400. I set it to 400 and continue slide on hover. Okay, cool. So let's just tweak that a little bit to suit. I think that was all good. So just make this 400 and that. So that means when you actually hover over the slide, it's still going to continue going through. It's not going to pause. I like to have that off so it does pause if you've got text on there so people can read it. But if it's just an image, let's turn it off for that in this case. So we're getting kind of close now. I'm just going to save this. Okay, so next let's change the padding and stuff on these rows, and let's get this sort of pushing down and overlapping and setting up all these cool negative margins and stuff. So what I'll do firstly is let's get rid of all the padding on the actual section. So here we go, that gets rid of the top and bottom. And then on the row too, let's get rid of all the padding. And let's move this so we're sort of pushing it, I think about 50 pixels that way and about 50 pixels down as well. So on the slider, we'll go to design and then spacing, and the margin at the top, let's set that to 50. So that's pushed it down. And then the margin on the left here, let's set that to -50. So that's pushed it over there. Which at the moment, because this whole section's got this white background, you can't really see the creamy color popping up here or popping up here. So let's fix that. So on the actual whole section, let's change the background color to that creamy color. Oh, why isn't that coming up again? I wonder if that, sweet, I do have the background color here. So we'll save that, and then on this first column, let's make the background white. There we go. So you can see sort of that's popping up and down. Now here we want, on the original, you can see how this sort of like overlapped down the bottom here, and so you sort of had some cream fading in there. So in order to sort that out, what I've done is on this first column that I've gone into, under design, border, I've set a bottom border of that cream color. I don't know why this color is not saving in my recent all the time. Is that going to do it? No, I'm going to have to save that color. Let me just grab that color again. Just going to copy this. Okay, so it was under this row and the first column, and then border, set the bottom border. Let's scroll down so we can see it happen. And we'll set the bottom border color to that creamy color that I just copied, and let's make it about 50 pixels as well. There we go. So we have that there. So this is starting to look pretty similar. Now we just have to style this text, which can get a bit tricky with all the different text styles that we have there. So let's go in here. Or what I might first do is actually just copy all this text, which is essentially all I did was copy it off here, so we can format it the same. And I'm just going to paste that in as plain text, so it doesn't have all the formatting. So to do that on my Mac, I just go Shift Option Command V, and then just paste it all in without all the code and formatting and stuff. If I just deleted that and pasted it all in, you'll see that it's pasted it all in and made this, if we go here, it's made it a heading 1, and it's sort of added all this extra code here, which is great if you didn't want to have to learn how to do it yourself. But I'm going to show you how to do all this formatting from scratch. So let's just paste that in. So it's plain text, and we'll go back here. So what I've done here is I've set this as a heading 1, because typically that might be sort of the main thing that's going to have your keywords, like this one does here. It says sort of like coach and stuff. They might be sort of your keywords, so I'll set that as my heading 1, and everything else is just set as like normal paragraph text. This one I'm going to make a link though, because it was a link on the original, so I'll just add that in now, but you could obviously make that link to whatever you want. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go to design. At the moment it's just using my default fonts and colors and everything, and I want to style it similar to this. You'll notice like I haven't used exactly the same font here as there is on the original website, but you can just upload your custom fonts and whatever you want to use there. Okay, so we'll go in here and click on the design tab, and then what I like to do is you can just hover over these and actually click on the little edit button here, and that's going to jump you straight to that text, which makes it a lot easier rather than having to find, oh, is that heading 1 or is it heading 2 or whatever. So if we just click on here, for instance, that's going to jump us straight to heading 1 because that's what I set it at. And this font isn't too bad actually, so we can just like reduce that size down a little bit, and it's sort of looking similar, but obviously change that to whatever font that you would like to. And now let's just hover over this one and let's change this text. So this again was that Carla font. We'll make it black. I think we might make it a little bit smaller as well. It's looking pretty good. And now let's change the link as well. So to change the style of this one, make it italic, make it black, and I might add some letter spacing to it as well. Cool, so that's looking pretty good. Maybe just make that a little bit smaller, might look more similar. And now last but not least, let's change this hey at the top here. So one little trick that I like to do to change that is if you can just click in the text box in Divi and highlight that, and you get all these little options pop up. And so what we can do here is this one here can change the actual font, that you're using for that. So I think I just selected the first kind of script font that I could find, which was Alex Brush. But obviously if you uploaded a custom font to your website, that's going to show up here. And now I want to change the size as well, so let's just make that as big as I possibly can here, but I'll show you how to adjust this in a second. I'll close this, and now we'll just change the color. So let's just change it to that gold because that's what I have saved here. And okay, so now in order to make this even bigger again, let's click on the settings icon and then go into the text tab rather than the visual tab. We'll click on text, and you'll see that this is the font that we have here, Alex Brush, font weight, size. And so this font size here rather than extra large, I think we want to make this about maybe 70 pixels. Let's see that. So if we just type in 70px, you can see it's looking a lot better. So you can just fiddle around with that to see, you know, maybe if you wanted 100 or whatever size you might want that to be, depending on the font you use. It might have to be bigger or smaller, but that's looking pretty good. So I'll save that. Okay, so we're pretty much there now, except maybe I might need to make this sizing of this row a little bit smaller. Because we've already set the max width here to 340, I can just click and drag, and that's going to just adjust the pixels, the pixel width there. If you hadn't already set the width and you click and drag, it's going to default to percentages, which might not work in this case. So I would make sure you set that first. And if you hadn't, then just make sure you go into settings and then design tab and then sizing and adjust it there. But that's all looking pretty similar. So if I just drag this one down here now, then we have the original one up here that I created, and we've got this one down here. Now I haven't adjusted things for obviously mobile and tablet on these yet. If we scroll, adjust the screen size down to look at mobile and tablet, you'll notice how I've made this section, these ones all work fine, but these ones are looking a little bit funny on mobile and tablet right now. So I'll show you a couple things that I did there to make sure that it wasn't looking all over the place. The first one is because we set the width of this menu to 1000 pixels, it's getting really funky on tablet and also on phone. The menu's kind of completely disappearing. So let's just go into this one and go on the settings, cog, go to design, sizing, and then under width, what I'm going to do is just hover over here. Oh, why aren't you coming up? They should have little, I'm just going to save and refresh the page because I think all this animation going on is making it a little bit funny. So I'll just refresh, and then we'll get our little responsiveness icons pop up so I can adjust that. So settings, cog, design, sizing, width. Here we go. Why aren't you coming up? Not that there they are. So on tablet, what I want to do, so I'll show you down here, is I'm just going to make that 100%. It's going to jump it back over, and then phone should now adjust to 100% too. So that's looking pretty good there. What I might also want to do is change this to black. So that's just under icons, and then I will change the hamburger icon to black. And maybe I might want to add a little bit more sort of padding top and bottom to that row as well, but you can do that yourself. This one, when we scale it down, this section, you'll notice how we've got sort of like a big gap in between here, and maybe we want this to be like butting up right against the side there. So that's one thing. And also this image is going off the side of the page here too. So first thing, maybe let's adjust this image. So we'll go to the it's the slider, not so much an image. So we go into the slider and then design, spacing, and I'll just click on this responsiveness thing again, and we'll make this 0 and 0, so it's jumping back to the normal position. So on desktop it's going to have these sort of negative margins and stuff, but down on tablet and mobile it's just made it normal, which is cool. And now we're also going to remove this border from that first column that we gave it that cream border. So if we go into the row settings and then the first column, go to design, border, find that bottom border, and then on tablet we want to change that to 0. There we go. And on mobile that'll keep it as well. So you can see how it's all looking pretty similar now. It's all pretty responsive. You may just have to sort of tweak this section a little bit more to suit, but it's roughly there and looking pretty good. The only other thing that I might show you is that this isn't completely aligned top and bottom. You'll see how at the bottom down here that we've got this extra little bit of space, and we want to center align it just like we did this button, how we made it drop down. Unfortunately, we can't do exactly the same thing for this section though, just because of the column background and stuff. It makes it a little bit funny. So what we have to do is on this first column here, so we go to the row settings, that first column, and then again we're going to, under the Advanced tab, Custom CSS, add a little bit of code. And I'll just copy this in here and I'll paste it underneath the video as well so you guys can have the code. Oh, that's not the code. I will grab the code from up here. Let's get out of that. Where are we? Column, Advanced, copy. So what this does is it just makes it center just the items in that particular column rather than everything else. So we'll paste that in and you'll see how it's gone down. So if you look at this, as I take that out, it's jumped up and then it pastes down, moves down so that it's exactly centered in that row. Now it didn't look very off right there, but if you added more or less text, you would see a significant difference of it sort of having a lot of space down the bottom and being more aligned to the top. So that does that there. So I know this was a long video to explain how this all works, but with all the sort of negative margins and overlapping and stuff, it can get a little bit tricky. But I hope that's taught you some awesome new skills so you can feel confident going away and creating some really cool designs using this kind of layering style in Divi. And if you do use this tutorial and come up with a design of your own or use it on your website or something, please share it with me. I'd love to see it. And also, if you have any other Divi design challenges for me, reach out and let me know, because I love being able to create these beautiful designs in Divi. As a designer, we love pushing the limits of our design skills, and being able to use tools like this that can really accommodate that and allow us to achieve these amazing things is pretty awesome. So send me your challenges. I would love to do them. And good luck.